Slavery is back.
Welcome to a place where private business profit from a captive labour force, yet pennies are spent on medical services to a population in which the Indigenous, the poor and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doin Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. And a warning that this episode of Doin Time contains audio images of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have died and graphic discussion of deaths in custody. I'm Marissa and I'll be taking you through until 5 o'clock. First up on the show, we will bring you some audio from the Bail Saves Lives Snap rally last week. The rally was held by VALS, Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service, in conjunction with Flat Out Inc. last Wednesday, 30th of July at 9:30am on the steps of Victorian Parliament. After that, we will bring you an extended interview with Dr. Jill Gallagher, CEO of VACCHO, who will talk to us about tough new bail laws introduced into Parliament by the Victorian Government, Aboriginal deaths in custody and the Yoorook Justice Commission. We will yarn about Aboriginal deaths in custody, specifically focusing on Heather Calgarrett and the handing down of the findings from the Coroner's Court. We will also look at truth-telling and a look at the Yoorook Justice Commission's final report, Where to from here. As Dr. Jill Gallagher says in her media statement, the Victorian Government introduced to Parliament further bail reforms which will disproportionately impact Aboriginal people and consequently put more lives at risk. The upcoming audio is a featured snippet of Ali B. Sigalu, Director of Legal Services at the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service, with some words ahead of the formal proceedings from the Bail Saves Lives Snap rally from last week. Here it is. Have a listen.
Thank you very much for joining on what is a cold morning, but not as cold as the legislation that is about to be passed today in Parliament, or is about to be introduced to Parliament. We have had some MC issues, but thankfully my fellow colleague and friend, Laura Heffers from the Law and Advocacy Centre for Women is joining us, has jumped in for the MC role. That said, I will start on behalf of VALS. I want to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians on the land on which we're gathered today, the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to every First Nations person here today. Thank you for attending this important rally. My name is Ali Bessaroglu, and I'm the Director of Legal Services at the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service. I represented Auntie Donna Nelson in the coronial inquest into the passing of her daughter, Veronica Nelson. 4 months ago, we gathered, just as you have, on these steps, on what would have been Veronica Nelson's 43rd birthday. And we condemned this government for their decision to abandon life-saving reforms and to implement Hockham's Law in full. I spoke about how regressive bail laws by this government would break its promises to the Nelson family. I was there when they promised reform and change. They shed tears to Auntie, which invariably turned out to be crocodile tears. Today, this government turns its back on every Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander family. Auntie Donna fought fearlessly to protect vulnerable communities from the harms that people face in custody, so that what happened to Veronica never happens again. Just this Monday, VALS stood alongside the family of Heather Calgarrett. Almost 4 years since the tragic passing of Heather, the coroner found that not only was Heather's passing preventable, but that she should not have passed away in the manner that she did. That was a quote from the coroner, Gebbett. Chillingly, Heather and Veronica served time together at .Frost before both of their lives were cut short. Another appalling reminder of the ongoing failings of the state's duty towards Aboriginal women in custody. While we stand here today, people in custody right now are suffering. Victoria's prisons are in a state of crisis. And that is a direct result of these bail reforms that were previously introduced. Not today, but previously introduced. Ever since the introduction of Tranche 1 of the bail reforms, the rates of people on remand have skyrocketed exponentially. Over 60% of kids in custody are now unsentenced, and 40% of adult population in custody are on remand. 75% of the women, the Aboriginal women at Frost are unsentenced. Prisons are dangerously understaffed and overrun with people who are yet to be found guilty of any crime. And, of course, the prisons can't cope. People are spending countless hours in solitary confinement as routine lockdowns are the department's solution to grossly understaffed prison facilities. Lockdowns are their solutions. As for the kids in custody are going without food, missing breakfasts due to their lockdowns and staffing issues. Family visits are being cancelled. Legal appointments are being cancelled. Access to phone calls are being restricted. The state is already failing its duty of care. And with all that, this government wants to expose even more vulnerable people to prison time. It shouldn't have to take another Aboriginal person to die in custody for governments to admit its failings. But instead, yesterday we saw this government shamelessly celebrating the dramatic increase in prison numbers. Celebrating. Premier, you need to remember this. Listen. An increased prison population is not a sign of a functional society. It shows dysfunction. You cannot be celebrating something you should be ashamed about. This is why we have a national agreement on closing the gap. This is why we have Aboriginal Justice Agreement. Working towards lowering prison numbers of Aboriginal people who are incarcerated is what you should be celebrating. A second round of bail laws means no second chance for Aboriginal youth who are already being disproportionately impacted by these laws. Children deserve second chances, and imprisonment must always be last resort. We at VALS too understand, as the community does, that we want the community to be safe. We at VALS agree that everyone should feel safe, but the Victorian government's approach of simply locking up more people is not going to achieve that. If prisons worked to rehabilitate people, we wouldn't be here today. Prisons leave people with mental health struggles, which are untreated, further compounding the trauma that comes along with isolation from community. Families are torn apart, generations are traumatised, stability revoked, jobs and income lost, education deserted, and ultimately disadvantage is entrenched. And then we ask ourselves why the cycle continues. There's been countless inquiries, reports, research, and coronial inquests which have shown us time and time again that the warehousing of prisoners push people further into the margins instead of pulling people out. If governments were serious about public safety, we would be talking about housing, about healthcare, about education and training. We'd be talking about racism. We'd be talking about the cost of living. Those are the investments that keep our communities safe and protected, not prison cells. A government that is serious about addressing offending does not invest $727 million into prison beds. If the state spent that amount on actually addressing the underlying causes of people's trauma, social and economic needs, we would see much less offending. Our fear is that it's only a matter of time before another Aboriginal person dies in custody. There's been almost 600 deaths in custody since the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody. It's time to invest in self-determined solutions to support healing. That is true leadership. We need more funding for Aboriginal-led legal assistance, early intervention and prevention supports. We need to listen to and work with Aboriginal communities and ACCOs. Improve conditions inside prisons so people in custody are safer. And ultimately, we need to implement Pockham's Law. Thank you all.
And in case people have just tuned in, this is the Doin Time show, 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. And you just heard some audio from the Bail Saves Lives Snap Rally last week, and that rally was held by VALS in conjunction with Flat Out last Wednesday, 30th of July at 9:30 AM on the steps of Victorian Parliament. And the speaker is the chief officer from Legal Services at VALS. Sorry, the director of Legal Services at the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service, and it's Ali Bisigalu. So yeah, that very, very pertinent topics there, and it's really important to build the movement to stop Aboriginal deaths in custody, and that audio is timely at the moment with the way things are going. And thank you also to Wednesday Breakfast for recording that audio.
The Victorian State Government is planning repressive new laws to restrict protest, including bans on protective masks and lock-on devices, increased police search powers, restrictions on symbols of resistance such as flags, and creation of so-called safe zones around religious buildings, putting significant areas of the CBD off limits. We must say no to this attack on democracy. Protest is a fundamental human right. Join the fight to defend it at a mass rally hosted by Defend Dissent Coalition on Tuesday, 12th of August, 5:30 p.m. at Parliament House. Defend Dissent Coalition is a 3CR supporter.
Careful when you walk through this land, 'cause a child was born here. and a child was born there. Whoa, 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 yeah. Whoa, 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 yeah. Here lie stains of the blood and the water. They come from the mothers for the sons and their daughters. Their daughters. On a mountain, in the valley down below, across the open plains to the sea, the rivers and desert and the rainforest so green, I can see nativity. Baby girl wrapped in the ashes by the billabong, where she was born, so that she will return. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I walk softly in a garden of children, or scream like a madman and go rushing in. Oh, I remember all the mothers who lay here and went through the suffering when new life begins. Careful when you walk through this land, 'cause a child was born here, and a child was born there. Whoa, 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 yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And you're back with the Doin Time show. It's approximately 4:19 and you just heard a song by Archie Roach and Titters and it's called A Child Was Born. I wanted to take this opportunity before we get onto our interview with Dr. Jill Gallagher from VACCHO to read out part of the introduction of the Yoorook Justice Commission report, and it's called Yoorook Justice for Transformation. And I think it's really important to acquaint listeners with what's happening with Yoorook, and this will be a great opportunity to do a little bit of an intro in regards to the report. So the introduction is beginning now. The Yoorook Justice Commission was established in 2021 to examine the extent and impact of historical and ongoing systemic injustice against First Peoples in Victoria since the start of colonisation and to recommend appropriate forms of redress. Yoorook is the first formal truth-telling process in Australia. It was established as a Royal Commission under the Inquiries Act 2014 VIC. Yoorook is independent of government and is designed and led by First Peoples. In 2024, Yoorook held inquiries into land and social injustice issues impacting First Peoples. During these inquiries, Yoorook received extensive evidence about historical and ongoing injustices, rights violations and other harms against First Peoples in relation to lands and waters, health, housing, education, economic prosperity, political life and access to records. Yoorook heard that injustices towards First Peoples are not just a thing of the past, but continue to operate as an ongoing everyday reality. Systemic racism, as well as individual racist attitudes, lie at the heart of these injustices. Systemic racism refers to laws, policies or practices that may on their face appear neutral, but which in practice unfairly disadvantage certain racial groups and advantage others. Yoorook heard that throughout Victoria's history and in power, people in power have used false ideas about race to justify taking First Peoples' land, to exclude First Peoples from access to health services, education and other economic opportunities, and to maintain systems, policies and practices that unfairly disadvantage First Peoples. Yoorook received evidence about the ongoing presence of racism towards First Peoples across all societal institutions. In the face of these injustices, First Peoples continue to resist state-inflicted inequality, institutional discrimination and dispossession that negatively impacts their lives and well-being. Yoorook received evidence from First Peoples self-determining of their own priorities and actions, revitalising culture and languages, driving health, well-being and education initiatives, building Indigenous economies, and creating the structural and governance changes necessary to forge their own futures. Yoorook's letters patent require it to investigate and report on historical and ongoing systemic injustice perpetuated by state and non-state entities against First Peoples since the start of colonisation. So I'm actually reading out the introduction from the summary report, and it is a very large report. It's at least 5 volumes, and I would strongly encourage listeners not only to listen to this upcoming interview with Dr. Jill Gallagher from VACCHO, who will talk about all these issues, but to also have a look on the website, the Yoorook website, and download it or read it. So I'll just read out a little bit more. This report meets Yoorook's obligations in relation to the following terms of reference: land and waters, cultural violations, dispossession, killing and genocide, unfair labour practices, health and healthcare, invasion of privacy, information and data, economic and political life, and other systemic social injustices, including education and housing. So basically, there's not time to read out the rest of it, but the rest of the introduction really goes into how Yoorook conducted these inquiries, and it talks about the fact that there's quite a lot of issues papers inviting submissions on land, injustice, housing and homelessness, for example. So yeah, I would encourage listeners to really have a look at all that and stay tuned, because pretty soon we're going to be interviewing Jill not only about that, but also in regards to deaths in custody, in particular, specifically looking at Heather, Cal Garrett and other deaths in custody. But in the meantime, stay tuned and I'll play you an announcement.
Questions, 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 flooding into the mind of the concerned young person today.
It's nearly Science Week again, so you better be getting your teams ready for the annual Lost in Science Trivia for 2025.
Yes, Monday the 11th of August, starting at 6 at the Birmingham Hotel in Fitzroy, Melbourne.
All the details on the 3CR website or on the Lost in Science Facebook page.
And if you want to register for a table, email us at lostinsci@gmail.com. As the Taco Helm apocalypse approaches us with impending doom, it's time for the best alternative comedy debate in Nam.
Join us for the 21st Annual Green Left Comedy Debate, where progressive comedians will debate whether or not billionaires should run the government.
Featuring your famous, award-winning comedian Tom Ballard as our MC, with the brilliant talents of Nikki Barry, Hellchild, Shirley Hood, Rose Callahan, Sarah Bartolo and David Fowles.
It will be happening at Saturday, August 9th at the Brunswick Town Hall, with dinner and doors open at 6:30pm, with the show beginning at 8pm.
There'll be food, drinks and laughter, and special guest President Donald Dump, leading the positive team. Take it away, Don.
It's going to be a big debate, a great debate, a beautiful debate. I thought of it, by the way.
And all proceeds to the event will go towards activist media Green Left. So come along and join us on Saturday, August the 9th at the Brunswick Town Hall. And book your tickets by going onto the Green Left website or visiting greenleft.org/events. Green Left is a 3CR supporter.
Have you heard about the news that's come out of the NT?
What news? Fires, floods, chicken flu, what?
No, the payouts.
Payouts?
Compensation for what you went through.
No?
Well, I reckon you should go for it. You deserve every cent and more. I'll back you, you know it.
Oh, sis, you're the best.
Yes, I am. If you are Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander and were removed from family or community in the Northern Territory before 1 July 1978 or in the ACT or Jervis Bay before 11th of May 1989, you may be eligible for the Territory Stolen Generations Redress Scheme. If you know of a family member who was removed but passed away after the scheme was announced on the 5th of August 2001, you may be eligible to apply for redress for them. Call Link Up Victoria, VACCHO, on 037 002 3700 and leave a message for a callback or contact the Territory Stolen Generations Redress Scheme on 1800 566 111.
A 3CR supporter.
Capitalism's inherent barbarism is on full display, from the genocide in Gaza and the rise of the far right, to growing militarism and the climate crisis.
We need to radically change the way society is organised.
Join us for the upcoming Eco-Socialism 2025 conference, Eco-Socialism, Not Barbarism, held on September 5th to the 7th at the Ballum Place in Brunswick.
We will be bringing together activists from across the Indo-Pacific, sharing experiences to resist capitalism's drive to barbarism and build the mass movements that we need.
Anyone who wants to be part of the discussion on how we can build a left-wing alternative is welcome to attend.
Featuring international guests from the United States, Pakistan, India, Malaysia and Brazil, along with local campaigners.
Organised by Green Left and Socialist Alliance. Find out more by going to ecosocialism.org.au.
Green Left is a 3CR supporter.
And this is the Doin Time show, 3CR Community Radio. And it's approximately 4:29, and we're going to be speaking pretty soon with Dr. Jill Gallagher from VACCHO. And just a few introductory comments before we speak to her. I'm delighted to be welcoming her very soon. But just to let listeners know that the Doin Time show is a safe environment for marginalised communities, women in prison, but First Nations people and asylum seekers and refugees to come and speak about their lived experience. The Doin Time show also has very sensitive Aboriginal content, and that is ongoing and has been ongoing for many years. So just a content warning for listeners that there is going to be very sensitive material aired here. We'll be talking about Aboriginal deaths in custody and the Yoorook Justice Commission. VACCHO is the peak body for Aboriginal health and wellbeing in Victoria, the only one of its kind, with 33 Aboriginal community-controlled organisations as members. And VACCHO released its position statement on strengthening Aboriginal health care in custodial settings, which calls for urgent reform to the way health and wellbeing services are delivered in Victorian prisons. And that's straight from the media statement that Dr. Jill Gallagher has written, and I'm delighted to welcome her to the show. I've had the pleasure of yarning with her in the past, and I really am very happy to have her back on. Hello, Auntie Jill, welcome.
Hello, Marissa. Thank you for asking me.
It's so lovely to have you.
It's
now,
wonderful to be here.
Yeah, well, there's so much to talk about, isn't there? Yes. So should we start off, because I actually just played some audio from the Snap Action last week, organised by the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service, about the bail laws.
Yep.
Did you want to start off talking about the media statement and the position statement about that first, and we can interconnect that with Yoorook later?
Yes. So, as you are aware, that we did release a position statement on Aboriginal healthcare in custodial settings. We also released a position statement on the bail laws and how it'll impact on our communities. We share the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service's concerns and VACCHO, we've done a lot of work in this space, Marissa. We've done a lot of work in trying to help the government understand what needs to happen. And it's basically we push and kunny uphill, really. And, so it is a shame that the government seems to play, and I might put it this way, yo-yo with the bail laws. And 1 minute they're up, next minute they're down, and it keeps going round and round. But, you know, the bail laws, the tough bail laws, are quite detrimental to our communities here in Victoria, the Aboriginal communities. And, it's detrimental to anyone, really. But we, as you are aware, overrepresented in the justice system, so more so than any other group of people.
Exactly, and of course, the bail laws are impacting healthcare as well, aren't they?
Well, the bail laws, when you look at particular cases, and I'm glad you gave that warning in the beginning because I'm going to be talking about particular cases.
Yes, yep.
Not just Heather's, which is the recent case that the coroner released, with another finding that, Heather's passing is a failing of the current so-called justice system. It was preventable, and in Victoria we have private health prison providers, so they're private providers. They're not a public health model of care, and to me that's one of the biggest issues when you're dealing with health in prisons. And I myself has been heavily involved for many years in advocating for better healthcare in prisons. And I don't know, I think it was about, Marissa, about 3 years ago, I actually was asked by the state government to go on a review of correctional services here in Victoria, and that was a real eye-opener for me. And that review made many recommendations. And to my knowledge, I don't know whether that review the recommendations are being implemented or not. But yes, the bail laws is just another tough law that impacts on our people. And Veronica Nelson, for your listeners who've never heard of that case, all you got to do is Google her name and you will see the impacts that the bail laws had on Veronica back then, but also not only the bail laws, but the privatisation of health in prisons, how it impacted on Veronica dying in prison.
It's devastating.
It really is. I mean, I went to the coroner's hearing for Veronica Nelson and sat behind her mum and her family. And they had to sit through all that they heard that the coroner found and listen to everything, and it was really heart-wrenching when it was preventable. And Veronica's only crime, and this is what gets me.
Yep.
Veronica's only crime was allegedly shoplifting.
Yeah. It's awful.
And she died because of that, because they wouldn't give her bail and she stayed in prison and the health system let her down.
And the same with Heather Calgarrett.
That's exactly right. So when enough is enough.
Yeah.
I mean, these are our people. These people are related to, we all know one another in Victoria. And it was really heart-wrenching to see. I mean, how long ago has it been since the Royal Commission into deaths in custody?
I believe that Bob Hawke organised it for 1986, but that's right, the 1991 Royal Commission.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
yes.
right.
So what was implemented out of that? How many Royal Commissions do we have to have?
I know. So many recommendations.
Yes, and this recent one of the corrections review we did here in Victoria made some amazing recommendations. And you know what? We offered state government to help them develop a model of care, an Aboriginal community-controlled health model of care. And out of the last state budget, we actually, all we asked for was $2 million. So, one, we can develop that model and we can pilot it so we know it works and then implement it. $2 million we asked for, which is not a lot of money.
No.
In the whole government budget process. We didn't get it, by the way, and yet they announced $727 million for prisons to prepare for the impact of the government's reversal of oppressive bail laws.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's happening not just in Victoria, but even in Alice Springs.
Oh, right across this continent.
Yeah. Spit hoods and,
Yes. And, I mean, I was reading something the other day and youth detention in the Northern Territory, the amount of, because of their strict bail laws, the amount of young Aboriginal people sitting in police cells triples non-Indigenous youth.
And Victoria's following in those footsteps.
Exactly.
So with Heather Calgarrett, the coroner recommended that the Victorian government invest in what sort of model?
An Aboriginal community-controlled health model.
That needs to happen.
Of course. I mean, we know that the Aboriginal Health Service is right across this country, but here in Victoria, is all that I can speak to, it works. And that pissy little $2 million I was talking about before would have got us there to develop and pilot a model, and then we would have handed that model to government and says, well, this is what you need to do, and this is how much it's going to cost. And it'll be anywhere near 727 mil.
Exactly. Now, Jill, I've interviewed you quite a few times, and also the other commissioners when the Yoorook Justice Commission was happening. And by the way, it is a monumental, wonderful achievement. And how can you talk about a little bit about the final report? The what's it called? Yoorook Transformative?
Yeah. Look, I can't in detail.
No, of course not.
It's a big report.
No, but just a brief look at it would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, I think the report is just the beginning. You know, I mean, a lot of people don't fully understand the impact having a truth-telling commission could do for us as First Peoples of this country. But not only for us, for non-Aboriginal citizens also. But truth-telling has made the Yoorook has made an extraordinary start in gathering thousands of testimonies of our peoples. And it shouldn't stop there, because not all of our mob provided their testimonies. And having people's testimonies on the official record, in my opinion, is like starting to heal the process. For those who know about apartheid in South Africa, when apartheid was abolished, and by the way, just a little piece of information, the South African government came over to Australia to look at our policies, mainly Queensland, took them away and called it apartheid. Anyways, but when apartheid was abolished in South Africa, the first thing they did was have truth-telling hearings. And a lot of authorities under the old regime were exempt from prosecution if they told the truth. And a lot didn't, by the way. Wouldn't dare get up and tell of the... So the truth-telling started that country, started the healing process. It's only the beginning. And the same in Canada, when you look at what they did over there for their First Peoples, they had an amazing truth-telling process, and it's still going, by the way. They actually educate the public on a lot of those testimonies and what it meant and what it did to their cultures, to their communities and their people. So no matter what comes next, the truth-telling that has taken place will be informative, and it will be a step forward to allow our people to start that healing process, because then, you know, a lot of people I've spoken to said, well, now I feel that I've been heard.
Exactly. I mean, I'll never forget something that you said, it really stayed with me for a really long time, Jill, and that was when you said to me on air, you said that it's not just about truth-telling, although that's really important and pertinent. It's also about making sure that it's on public record, and that in the areas of police and child protection and, stolen generation, that there's got to be a step forward.
Exactly. Exactly right. And truth-telling shouldn't be just a one-off thing. It has to be there needs to be an ongoing truth-telling body. And that's what happened both in, not so much in South Africa, but in Canada, because they developed really good resources as a result of a lot of the truths they heard that went into schools.
That's right.
And videos of people's stories.
Exactly.
So I think it's really important, and I'm very proud, to be honest with you, that Victoria is the first state in this country to undergo a truth-telling process.
And just a minor correction there for listeners, that the title of that report is Yoorook for Transformation.
Yes.
That's the title of the report. Getting back to deaths in custody, Auntie, what are we going to do? There seems to be just an ongoing theme here at every inquest that people, just police and healthcare providers, are not taking responsibility. What's going to happen?
Well, the healthcare providers that you talk about are exactly right. Well, no one's holding them accountable, by the way. That's one. But I think we need some outrage. We get outraged over a lot of things, whether they're happening domestically or whether they're happening overseas. You hear our voices sometimes in the streets when we march for NAIDOC, but we need a campaign. We need people, our allies and our own people, right into the Department of Justice, right into the Minister for Justice, and basically saying, we need action. How many recommendations that you need to have before you act?
Exactly. It's,
people need to talk to their local members of parliament.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that happened today, Jill, that I want to share with you and also share with listeners, is that I attended the directions hearing of Jeffrey, as the family like him to be known, another Aboriginal deaths in custody. And it was live streamed, and I got through on the phone because I really didn't have time to go into the coroner's court because I had to do this show. And the thing that was really heartbreaking about it is that Jeffrey was arrested and he died of cardiac arrest, allegedly. And he was on the roof and he fell from the roof because he was scared that the police dog was going to bite him. Now, the Yoorook Justice Commission, there's plans, I think, to help with the cultural material, to help with looking at that at the upcoming inquest. And that's actually something, that's a landmark, isn't it?
Very, very much so. Very, very much so. I agree with you, Marisa.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it. I mean, the inquest isn't happening yet, so there's no contempt of court. But there's no harm in letting listeners know that the Yoorook Justice Commission has a role to play here about making sure that there are cultural protocols happening when someone's being arrested.
Totally agree. I mean, a lot of, as you would know, a lot of First Nations people, Aboriginal people, our mob here in Victoria, a lot of, we are over-represented in the justice system, but a lot of the crimes that they've committed, they're crimes of poverty. They're They're not hardened criminals. They're the impacts of colonisation. And we as Aboriginal people haven't had the benefit of the bank of mum and dad, or haven't had the benefit of all the services that other citizens have access to, simply because we're black. So it's only been 230 years since colonisation started, but those atrocities that were committed on our people went well into the 1800s, early 1900s, so that's not that long ago.
Exactly, and it's a young, well, the government says it's a young country, but it's not. I mean, Aboriginal people have been here for thousands of years, but colonisation is young here.
Exactly right. It's in some people's living memory. My mum is 99. She turns 99 in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So where to from here, Auntie?
Where to from here? I think we need... That's what the referendum was about. We need a strong voice.
Yep.
We need our own mob to be able to hold governments accountable. We really do need that. I mean, VACCHO, we do our best. But we're only one organisation that tries to, and the same with VALS, by the way, they do their best. Yeah. But we need Victorian people to stand with us.
We do.
And tell the government, you cannot claim ignorance no more. There is that many reports out there with some amazing recommendations. We just got to implement them.
Exactly. Can you comment on any other deaths in custody that you want to talk about? Very briefly.
Well, yeah. Look, there's been quite a few, but I don't really want to comment on them specifically.
No, of course not.
No.
But in terms of what I meant was, how we were talking about the findings,
Oh, yes. I mean, there's even today, there's still some cases that are happening that hasn't even been to the coroner's court yet.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'd like to, and I haven't got that number with me, but I'd like to have the proper figure since the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody, 30-odd years ago, how many deaths in custody has there been in, and I'll only focus on Victoria here, but how many deaths in custody has there been in Victoria since then? How many deaths in custody in Victoria, Aboriginal deaths in custody I'm talking about, in Victoria in the past 5 years?
Exactly.
It is enormous. And it's got to stop.
It does, and I'm hoping that there can be more community-controlled Aboriginal-led organisations like VACCHO.
Yes, well, we need the voices of your listeners too, Marissa. So maybe you can sort of, say, speak to your local member of Parliament.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'll help us.
Very important.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming onto the program. I just wanted to have you on really just to make sure that the Yoorook Justice Commission reports are not going to be collecting dust at the State Library of Victoria.
Well, that's so true. That is so true. I mean, don't worry. The Aboriginal organisations will be trying to hold government accountable for the implementation of the recommendations. But if all the deaths in custody, coroners' recommendations, reports, and so on, haven't been implemented, I mean, I just hope we got a brave and bold government.
Indeed. Thanks so much. Keep up the good fight.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
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 And you just heard an interview with Dr. Jill Gallagher from VACCHO speaking about truth-telling and deaths in custody, specifically Heather Calgurrat and Veronica Nelson findings. It's approximately 4:54 and we're going to be nearing the end of our show pretty soon. We've got climate action up next. But yeah, so much going on, and I hope that listeners will be encouraged to have a look at that Yoorook Justice Commission report and look at the bail laws as well. It really is most appalling. So we're going to be going out with our theme song, Black Fella, White Fella by the Rumpy Band, pretty soon. Stay tuned every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. for the Doin Time show. And it's goodbye from Marissa, and take care.
As long as you are true fella, as long as you are real fella. All the people of different races with different lives in different places. It doesn't matter what your name is. We got to have lots of changes. We need more brothers if we're to make it. We need more sisters if we're to save it. Are you the one who's gonna stand up and be counted? Are you the one who's gonna be there when we're shouting? Are you the one who's always ready with a helping hand? Are you the one who understands this family plan? Black fella, white fella, yellow fella, any fella, it doesn't matter what you color, as long as you are true fella. All the people of different races, with different lives, in different places, it doesn't matter which religions, it's all the same where the ship is sinking. We need more brothers if we're to make it. We need more sisters if we're to save it. Are you the one who's gonna stand up and be counted? Are you the one who's gonna be there when we shout it? Are you the one who's always ready with a helping hand? Are you the one who understands this family plan? Stand up and be counted. Stand up and be counted. Are you the one who's always ready with a helping hand? Are you the one who understands this family plan?
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.